Hi everyone, Graham Couch here from the Lansing State Journal alongside Chris Solari from the Detroit Free Press at Spartan Stadium after Michigan State's 42-40 win over Boston College in overtime.
Two overtimes.
Yeah, 2 overtimes. Incredible game, entertaining game, and I thought, for a Michigan State team that needed a second half performance and a second half showing, and then plus that was better than last week, and that showed they could make adjustments, that showed they could be the better side in the second half. I think this was that. There's a lot of promising things, a lot of things that I think are still concerning defensively. But Aiden Childs played maybe his best game. Nick Marsh was a ferocious playmaker, maybe not used quite enough, and he spoke up about that.
Yes, he did.
Amari Kelly, great at the end. They ran the ball again, and so that's a positive against this team. So a lot of things in a game that if they had lost, might have set them on a different trajectory for this season than this one.
Yeah, and I think that there were quite a bit of things. I mean, there was plenty of luck in this. I mean, if Amari Kelly's second fumble doesn't go out of bounds and gets recovered, that's a scoring drive stopped. They benefited from a couple ill-timed penalties from Boston College, but they also had ill-timed penalties of their own. I think you think about that play at the end. I think it was at the end of the first half, or in the second quarter, where they ran a direct snap on 4th and 1 at midfield. Knew that they had struggles scoring in the second half, and they ran a direct snap to Brandon Tullis after running Aiden Childs out in motion, and he got stuffed. I mean, there were all kind of little things like this that kind of built up. But I think, and Jonathan Smith and his players all talked about this, the resiliency that they showed in playing through the mistakes. They knew it wasn't perfect. I mean, even though Jonathan Smith called it a beautiful game, he also pointed out a lot of those mistakes. They gave up a lot of pressures. Childs nearly got hurt. And they also had some drives at the end in regulation that made it required to go to overtime. And I thought, though, they looked real good offensively in overtime.
And in part, I mean, this game really shifts at the beginning of the second half.
It did.
And Boston College was the better team in the first half, I thought, and by a little ways, even though the score was close. But when they come out and you go deep with, straight to Amari Kelly, then Nick Marsh for 41 yards and a touchdown. And Nick Marsh had a catch in the first half that was phenomenal, sort of a TJ Duckett style, dragging his defender in the end zone. That set the tone and said, all right, they're going to be different. And I think there were a lot of concerns about this team and this program the last year plus in second halves. That was important. Childs, again, doesn't throw an interception. Four touchdowns.
That's a big thing that nobody's really talking about, because I think everybody now is talking about how many times he's getting dropped with pressure. I think 4 more sacks tonight. He was chased from the pocket quite a bit, but he also had a couple real nice design runs that broke, including the touchdown in overtime to tie it before throwing the winning 2-point pass to Kelly. I thought there was a lot to like from Childs tonight. The line, I still don't understand why they're shuffling offensive linemen, because there were points where they had a static 5 that looked real dominant and they switched out. And there was never any consistency and cohesion. I thought Stanton Ramil had a brutal game, but I say that, and I thought Jordan Hall at times had a brutal game, even though he had 15 tackles. And I say that, both of those guys exemplified this team's resiliency in that they were able to come through and make big plays in overtime and at the end of regulation. I mean, Hall obviously comes out and gets a big tackle at one point. And Ramil, they ran over him with Frazier and Childs to get the ball down to the goal line and into the end zone. So I mean, there's trust there, but we got to also remember this is a developing team.
Yeah, Hall looks like a young leader who is like the first. He basically saves Amari Kelly in this team by forcing that fumble out in the first possession at the goal line, and he looks like a guy who is not only learning to lead. He's a pretty good leader, I think. But you saw some times where they didn't pick up in the end zone and he was shouting at guys what they need to do, learning to lead and be a playmaker all at once while still figuring out how to, he's not a perfect player yet himself.
Yeah.
But when you have 15 tackles, when you come out hurt and you come back in and finish, you saw that from a couple guys. Malik Spencer got dinged up, came back in.
Aiden Childs,
some guys showing some resiliency there. I thought all that was important. They're going to have to figure some things out defensively though, because they 0 sacks. Now some of that was Boston College did a nice job getting rid of the ball quick. The Lonergan kid looks like a real player, and Michigan State better hope he is, because otherwise that's not a great performance. But they need to figure out how to get the guys and how to get off the field better on third downs and not let quarterbacks get in a rhythm, because they're going to face some other good quarterbacks.
Yeah. And I thought they struggled in the middle of the field in coverage. The linebackers struggled. I mean, they were slipping out the back quite a bit. The Turbo Richards kid, I mean, they were running checkdowns. He had one touchdown on one of those miscommunications on a little wheel route on the outside. There were a lot of things that you saw that have been problems, but then, you know, they also corrected the midstream. So I think this was you know, as much as beating Western was important to get the feel, being able to win this game while
10 times
getting the things accomplished in game that were wrong and fixing them. I mean, it might have taken overtime to fix some of those things, but they got them fixed to win the game. And, you know, ultimately, I think talking to a bunch of these guys throughout the course of the last few weeks, one of the things they said is it's a binary game. It's a 1 or a 0. You either win or you lose, and that ultimately is it.
And there's been too much losing for Michigan State for a while, so people can live with that. And the second overtime, the way they ran just off left to the center, Child's throw, which to the other side of the end zone, those are you know, big time plays. Now, the other thing that developed in this game that's really important, special teams was phenomenal. Ryan Eckley is as good as you'll see. I mean,
outside of the Omari Kelly fumble.
Correct. Yeah,
which was pretty big.
Yep, it could have been worse.
Could have been a lot worse.
And if the NFL had an open window for signing guys right now, Ryan Eckley would be on an NFL roster this weekend. They don't, so Michigan State will get him for another year. But I do think, like, when you look at what they got out at the kicking situation, they didn't know they had a kicker.
No.
And
they didn't. And I mean, listen, they didn't even know Martin Connaughton was going to be able to kick in this game. That was one of the things that they thought maybe Ryan Eckley was going to kick the long field goals again this week. First time they go and line up for a field goal from 50 yards out is Martin Connaughton. And what's even funnier is a couple weeks ago, Jonathan Smith was saying that Martin Connaughton was farther off than Tarek Amakbasi.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing that's interesting is, so he hits a 50-yarder for his first kick, an important kick, a kick that, you know, it's tie game at the time he hits it. Or tie game the time he hits it. Yeah. Then he hits a 39-yarder that's equally important later, and those are the ones
after a sack that sent them backward.
The 50-yarders are great because it looks like they have a kicker, right? And he's a redshirt freshman and all that. But the 39-yarders are the ones that if you have to be able to hit consistently in the course of a season. Yeah. 50s are gonna, you know, if you're 50% on 50s, that's great. You got to hit the 39-yarders. This was a game where they could not afford. It went to overtime to not have both those field goals. And if they hadn't had him healthy, I don't think they win this game. Yeah. And so that's a big development. And then
they've got options. I thought Eckley looked pretty good. I mean, there were some strategic moves with the kickoff game. Yeah. He had one bad kickoff, but you could tell that he was trying to get knuckleballs and trying to get it in the coverage unit. It was great again, even without Caleb Gash this week, who was out with an injury. I thought that was another development. Alante Brown.
You know, two great returns.
I don't know whether to call him pinball or bumper car, because Cadillac Brown was all over the place. Yeah. He got hit hard on both of those returns. First one somehow he got off around like the 12, 13 yard line or wherever he got hit and got out for 37. Then he took off and cut and weaved his way to 63 yards. After another score, that was huge. I mean, because that was big momentum plays that offense needed.
And this is a team that's going to play with thin margins all year.
Very thin.
And so they need those things. They need the special teams. They need the lack of turnovers. They need the running game. They need all of it.
They need to cut out the penalties too. And that was the other thing about the special teams. They're through 2 games, and I think when they're going to look back at the tape, there's been far too many holds on the punts. That can't happen. Those are kind of, especially when you've got a guy like Eckley, you don't want to lose one of those punts at the 1.
We still don't know exactly how good Boston College is. We still don't know exactly how good Michigan State is. But better to figure all those things out 2-0. You get a game they're going to win next week against Youngstown State and win easily, and it feels just a lot better playing that game, having won this game. And then they'll go to USC with a shot to do something at 3-0, and that's a heck of a place to be rather than, you know, coming off a loss here. We'll have complete coverage, freep.com, lsj.com, greenandwhite.com. Thanks for watching.